Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
I thank you very much for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast. And today, we're going to talk about design. And you don't need a flashy app. You need a product people actually want to use. So today, Mary, she joins me to talk about how smart product design can be the difference between startup success and startup stress. We'll talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
All right. As usual, we're going to jump right in. Mary, oh Mary, what if the reason for our startups isn't gaining traction, isn't our marketing, but our product design? How can we fix that?
Well, Reese, if I had one concise answer, I would be probably a billionaire given how huge healthcare is. I wish I had that though.
I think a lot of times we're not sure exactly what we're doing, right? You know, we're starting off in a place where we're not educated enough, or we feel like we're not educated enough. And we don't maybe have the right experiences or not put in the right place or the right seat. So how can we change that space mentally, even physically? How can we change that in order for us to get to a place where we're successful?
I think going back to the examples and to the product that I'm working with,
Mm-hmm.
Which are healthcare products for sometimes patients, sometimes people like you and me
Mm-hmm.
who just want to track their health. I think quite often the mental space that you need to put yourself in is actually the final end state that you want to arrive at. And in my case, when I'm designing the product, obviously, I'm designing it for the patient. And I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the patient
Mm-hmm.
and to look then at the final end product. Let's imagine that they have their blood pressure issues. Maybe they have eating disorder, something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then starting from there, starting from the not ideal state,
Mm-hmm.
I'm envisioning how we will process and how we will actually take the patient to where they need to be. So probably envisioning the end goal and then starting from there, starting backwards is one of the ways how you can design optimal healthcare products.
So a lot of times we can't see the forest for the trees, you know, and I'm saying that because sometimes we can't see that far down the line. We see what the problem is, but we don't really know what the desired outcome really it might be. And so how did you know that, hey, this is where I would like it to end up at, especially for some of us who don't know what that really looks like?
In health tech, we are very lucky, to be honest, because
Mm.
they're optimal lanes. We do know what is optimal for human. We do
Mhm.
know some brackets, right? So obviously, we are targeting the optimal level here.
Mhm.
And you can always pull some reference data. You can always have some data backing your decisions.
Mhm.
So it's not just random. Likely
Mm.
you can do your research. And I think for majority of problems, we do often miss this part. We presume that we are the only holders of the information and we might somehow dig it
Mhm.
inside of us. Well, this route has already been walked so many times in healthcare
Mhm.
for sure. You might get very good data on how
Mm.
things were done,
Mhm.
and you just need to analyze it, especially if you're speaking about health. Humans did not change much, truly. So you can rely on some data.
So, you've jumped into something that's basic, being healthcare. And when I say basic, because all of us have to worry about it, right? That's a problem for all of us. So what made you choose that? Because sometimes that industry sound like it can be hard to break into. So what made you choose something like healthcare to begin with?
I think, like you mentioned, it is basic. So
Hmm.
it is something that is very easy to empathize with, right? So
Hmm.
for you, for me, for pretty much everybody around us,
Right.
we feel something when we hear
Hmm.
healthcare. We either feel pain or fear or
Hmm.
something else, but it is never neutral, right?
Right.
So for me, it was also a feeling. At that
Mm.
point, I was CMO of a biggest medical tourism provider in um, Asia and Europe,
Hmm.
and I did have a chance to interact with people who were significantly benefiting from healthcare services,
Mm.
right? So I saw them either getting not as sick as they were, and obviously I experienced the same emotions that they did. So if you
Mm.
call a patient, they tell you, wow, I was feeling so bad. Let's imagine they had serious condition.
Mm.
After we help them, they are feeling great. The family is happy. Everybody's happy. So you do feel it, really. You can
Mm.
empathize with that. Sometimes it obviously goes the other way, but
Hmm.
that is just how life is. So you can easily empathize. You can absorb the emotion from the patient.
Hmm.
And if you're a sensitive person like I am, it is very easy for me to get inspired and motivated, really, by the patients who get better. So
Wow.
it's easy. It's quite basic, like you mentioned. Yeah.
And I said that I used the word basic because it appears to be right. Now we're not going to devalue what you've brought to the table, like it is major, right? Um, but sometimes we don't look at just basic human needs, and just a basic way of life. And as you're stating, you wanting people to get better, as a whole. So you answer the question, but there's a part of that you mentioned that you also asked a question for yourself. So it became a little bit more personal, right? So did you really want to put yourself into this equation, really? Or did you just want to answer for somebody else? Because sometimes we don't want to be that transparent. We don't want to show people where our weaknesses are. You get what I mean? So did you really want to put yourself out there like that?
I was very blessed I didn't have to interact with healthcare myself for
Okay.
very, very long. I
Okay.
was just an observer of the systems and builder
Okay.
of the systems. So it was emotional for me to a certain extent, but I was not
Mm-hmm.
way too emotional, you know? I did not have to walk the walk. I had a chance to support the ones who are
Okay.
walking the walk, and that's it. And that is the right amount of empathy you sometimes want to have. You don't want to be way too involved in it, right? So yeah, for me it was more of a supportive role for the
Mm-hmm.
current systems, and definitely not solving my personal problems.
Mm. And I hear you, right? But you just sound so humble, Mary. Like because all of us have whatever it might be, and sometimes we devalue that. And I'm just bringing that up um, because what you did or what you've provided, because I've been reading a lot of articles. I looked at your Substack and things like that. So I'm just looking at things that you've done. It's just so remarkable and life changing that it makes it seem as though like, hey, you had some other type of experience. But if you're saying, hey, I really want to change the world, literally, that is so remarkable and so admirable. Something to admire. And I appreciate you for that, Mary, to make a change like that.
Well, thank you very much. I think here you need to also consider the system as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously there are doctors providing the service.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the people who should be admired at first. And yes, the builders of the system, yes, we are important, but
Yes.
probably the primary provider is the one who's 100% responsible for your end state.
I mean, and all I'm saying is that, you provided something, right, that people can aspire to say, hey, you know what? Here is something that can assist these providers, that can assist these doctors, these nurse practitioners, whatever they're doing in this field, that, hey, I can make a difference. I can help out streamline the services. I can help for people to track their medications or whatever it is. And I think that sometimes when we look at these basic human needs, again, because you think that, hey, somebody else has already done it, but there's another way that you always get it done. It doesn't have to be set in stone. It doesn't have to follow a certain path. And, so that's why I'm saying, like, I just appreciate what you've created, because it was, to me, it was remarkable, in my opinion.
Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.
I think these days, speaking of healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
and not only healthcare, right? So it will be powered by AI very, very soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's already powered by technology quite
Right.
often, right? So it is just a matter of time when the services that we are receiving will be actually delivered by the systems,
Mm-hmm.
not by humans.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you want it or not, people like me will be creating the systems and curating the systems soon, just because it's more efficient, more accessible, and yeah, getting older and older, and
Right.
generally people try to get healthier,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and obviously we live longer. So meaning the healthcare system gets a lot more burdened,
Yeah.
meaning that technology will be in demand. So
Mm-hmm.
that is another probably insight that I had, that you do not need to have health tech background to start working in health tech.
Mm.
So that will be something that will be very big. And it is growing every single day.
Right. And so should the average person be afraid of utilizing AI and trying to get to another level, or should they start to really embrace it more than they have in the past?
Clinicians are using AI already.
Mm-hmm.
So there are solutions which help them make the decisions on a daily basis in much more efficient manner. There are
Mm-hmm.
already so many researchers that prove that AI does help clinician.
Mm-hmm.
So we save time, the decision is much better, and so on. So whether you as a patient should be using the system, I think there are some systems that are clinically proven to help. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them. So ChatGPT might not be the one. But going further, yes, definitely there might be some systems that would replace the physician
Mm-hmm.
on a general basic level. So whether you should be afraid of it, probably not,
Mm-hmm.
because your physician would be using it. It's just that they have some clinical knowledge to also ensure that it's not a scam, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's just a matter of time when we will be able to rely on the AI fully in this
Mm-hmm.
cycle.
So when you talk about healthcare tech, what do you mean by that? Because again, we just look at healthcare being person to person, and there, we don't always see the real technical side of that, of healthcare. So what do you mean by that?
Basically everything that is technology in healthcare. If you look at it broadly, really everything that is empowering the clinician
Mm-hmm.
to do their work better using technology, which might be mobile app, which
Mm-hmm.
might be software, so something that they are using at their desktop,
Mm-hmm.
even AI, right? So AI chatbot that helps them to make a decision. Might be a wearable Wearable meaning like a
Mhm.
smartwatch or blood pressure monitor, glucose
Mhm.
monitor, all of these innovative devices. Everything is technology, right?
Mhm.
So all of this can be part of our stack.
And I brought that up because sometimes we don't consider all these pieces. Like you just said, a wearable, right? Our Apple Watches that are calculating our steps every day. you know,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
and so, but if Apple has already created that, is there something that I can create that can do the same thing that could be as help out the average person, especially if these bigger companies have already done it? Should I even venture out into something like that?
You need to remember that in healthcare in general, there is legal aspect,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that you develop quite often has to be either FDA approved or have
Mm-hmm.
some sort of compliance, obviously, because you're working with medical data. You don't want to lose it. You need to be very careful with everything here.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you must ensure that what you're providing is actually clinically proven, so you're
Mm-hmm.
not scamming people.
Right.
So that is a huge layer that does not exist, for example, in media or entertainment, right?
Yeah.
So if you're developing something, you also need to remember that you will have to be involved in this stage. So if you want to develop that, yeah, definitely, absolutely, you might,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you will be able to clinically prove that it is a medical device or any certification that you might need.
Mm. And so that kind of goes back to what you said earlier, right? About do your research, right? That's part of your research of understanding, hey, what's already out there, right? Along with, is it clinically approved? How can it help? Is there anything that's also missing in that research that can assist a little further? But a lot of times, like you stated something about AI, and some people use AI to do the research, but we also know that AI is still kind of in its infancy. It doesn't have all the stats that it really needs. But then when you come to some of these other places, now you got to pay for it to get some of these other levels of research. But I feel like I don't have enough money to do that. So should I pay for that? Or do you think that there's other ways that I can get this relatively same type of information?
I think in all clinical cases, if you really need deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
I would address inflammation first.
Mm.
Because still, like you mentioned earlier, there are systems which are clinically proven.
Mm-hmm.
They do have the data, but you do not know which systems are the ones that you should be using, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe me, I'm working in this industry every single day. I know which ones should be used, which ones are better, which ones are
Mm-hmm.
worse. But average person knows ChatGPT and maybe Claude. That's it, right? So you do not know what should be used, and maybe your clinician does.
Mm-hmm.
That they are supposed to, if they are again into innovation. So I would not rely just on your own judgment
Mm-hmm.
in choosing the best system for your clinical decisions for sure. I would delegate it to the clinician and then they will decide probably.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm bringing it up because, again, we think that, hey, from an entrepreneur side, hey, we want to help people out. But I think there are some points that you're bringing up. Hey, make sure that you understand one, was needed, but number two, the legal side of this as well, because this is something that can change someone's life, depending, especially if you're using bad data, for this. And I thank you very much for pointing these things out, that we need to do our research, even though we want to help, but we need to be way more educated than just some basic, article that's 7 or 8 years old. So I thank you for providing that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Also, I think um, going forward, we are experiencing
Mm-hmm.
mental health care to be shifting it quite a lot due to ChatGPT and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not exactly like physical health or treating any specific sickness.
Mm-hmm.
It is quite abstract, almost ambiguous, right? How do you treat mental health? What is a disorder in this case if it's not diagnosed even? So there are already some researches which prove that chats, AI-based chats, can be very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So they can sometimes replace the real clinician, especially if a person has no clinician
Mm-hmm.
chat or clinician and chat. Which
Mm-hmm.
one would you choose on that, right? So you do not have money for a clinician.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have money for a therapist. So possibly getting some sort of support from ChatGPT would be better than having absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you're not suicidal or, yeah, definitely not serious cases, but just having some sort of support, if you have mild anxiety, mood disorders, this kind of thing. With that being said, hybrid is still the best. So having therapy sessions once in a while, and then having AI chatbot support in between the sessions, because obviously therapists cannot answer you at 2 a.m. At night, so you still need support, but there is some level of touch point with a real human.
Wow. You know, I appreciate you coming on because there's a lot of things that we touched on. And I hope that everyone that's listening, hey, you can help people out there, but just make sure you do your research. Make sure you're well educated and talk to people that's around you, not just AI. You can use AI, but you also need to talk to your clinicians as well. Those that are professionals. So just make sure that you're very well educated, well-rounded education, and not just rely on one source. But Mary, I appreciate you coming on and sharing this type of information. If you can, please share with everyone where they can find you and talk to you a little bit more so they could totally understand healthcare tech, product design, all those type of things, especially things that the piece that you created.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Riz, for inviting me. I have a free Substack newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to chat any day about healthcare design, healthcare products, and pretty much anything else related.
Nice. So I'm gonna let y'all know that I have been reading her Substack probably for the last week, and it's just very interesting. I just want y'all to know that it's very informative, especially if you're in tech and information technology, all that type of stuff. It is very informative. So Mary, I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you very much. It's
Sure,
great
no.
to hear that it's useful.
Oh, it is most definitely, most definitely. Now, Mary, before I let you go, though, I do have to ask you my question that I ask all my guests. Right? My would you rather question. And feel free to use your imagination, think outside the box. All right? So, Mary, would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
Doors, please.
The door. And why the doors?
My answer would be gut feeling.
Okay. Okay.
Sometimes the best answer is a gut feeling, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is.
So I'd rather keep it more ambiguous in this case, to be honest, because sometimes we are trying to analyze the situation and
Mhm.
dive into the data. Well, it does not really provide you full picture, and then you're
Right.
making the decision based on very, very incomplete data. Well, your gut was probably much broader than that. You just ignored it.
Now, keep in mind, I did say use your imagination, right? So
Yeah.
what if the doors were glass? What if the doors were already open, right?
Yes.
So they don't have to be, whatever behind it doesn't have to be unknown. You can already see it.
Even if it is unknown, there's nothing bad about it.
Right, right.
I doubt there is, to be honest, something that is fully known in our world
Yeah.
these days. So it's about the risk tolerance and ambiguity that you can tolerate.
Right. No, I just threw it out there. That's all.
Indeed.
Yeah. But I thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much, Riz. It was a pleasure chatting with you. And yeah, thank you for all the warm and kind words about my
Sure.
work. I really appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. And I thank y'all very much for listening to That Will Never Work podcast. Of course, all of Mary's information will be in the show notes. And I will talk to you just a little bit later.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chism on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?
Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.